Hey everybody, Doug here with 2 Plus Tough, and welcome again to another one of the Deluge series. It's been quite a while, but for those of you who are just joining me, basically this is my long-term project to create an army that I invest so much freaking work in that I don't feel the need to trade it or sell it. And so it has been Nurgle Pirates. That's how I am doing it. And so basically when I say pirates, I'm not doing a massive conversion of that. It's just kind of a nautical theme to the bases and that kind of stuff, and putting a lot of work into the painting. And so this is the first report that I've had for quite a while. Basically I was churning out models left and right like a madman, and that kind of got burnt out on the colors I was using, because I want them to be very dark, very like evil looking. And I was like, I want to paint something bright. And then the War Clans book dropped, and so then I was all about, bright green orcs and their blue armor and all that stuff. So I got kind of sidetracked, but honestly, just like last week, I was like, you know what I miss? I miss my Nurgle. Like, I don't know why, Slaves to Darkness, the Battle Tome came out and reminded me how much I love Chaos stuff. Not specifically like to go rush out and buy a Slaves to Darkness army, but it really invigorated me to go back to my Chaos army, Maggotkin of Nurgle. So I got to it, and I worked very diligently all of a sudden. So we'll go through here in my progress so far. I started off, I took all the stuff out of the boxes that I had, and I realized I had pretty much stopped halfway through some of the basing. So I was like, okay, we need to fix that. So I cranked out a ton of bases, 4 Pusgoyle Blightlords. I'll show pictures here in pretty soon. 1 Lord of Afflictions, and I have a few thoughts on that kit, specifically. 20 Plague Bearers, and 1 Poxbringer, which used to be the only Herald of Nurgle before they added the Spoilpox Scrivener and the other guy. So, Sloppity Bywhopper, that's what he is. So, we'll go into these. These are my Pusgoyle Blightlords, keeping with the naval colors, the khaki and the dark blue. They match the Blight Kings. I have some more pics coming up here to show them more detail. And you'll see the way the demons look here in hyper detail in just a hot second. But you can see towards the bottom center, that front guy, I have a little Nurgling sitting on a keg, because pirates need drank. And then obviously the riders there. Now there's what, 3 or 4 body types here, right? Yeah, there's 3 basic bodies. You can see them here going the bottom center to the far right, and then the 2 guys on the left are the third, and the 4th one is the Lord of Afflictions. So the poses are somewhat limited. I was kind of hoping there'd be more like, flexibility in how they pose their arms. Really what it is I really want to make an army that's focused on these models. I was away from the Maggotkin project for quite a while, and when I got back to it and I was really getting excited about it, I was like, you know what, like, I know the Blight Cyst is kind of the popular go-to, and it's what I had planned to build before, and I'm still going to. But after I got a Star Collecting box and actually built these guys, I'm like, I love these models like so much, and I never see them. And so just through strange happenstance, people selling off, portions of their collections and picking up random deals online, I actually ended up with several boxes of these, and I actually have enough that I'm going to build in total 9 of them. So that's a unit of 4, 2 units of 2, and then the odd man out is the Lord of Afflictions, because he's by himself, made from the same kit. So we'll check out some more. Here is a side-by-side shot, so you can get a good idea of how they look like when they're riding in their mounts. Trying to think of what else. You can see, so the demons, and I talked about this, but I hadn't actually painted any of them. The demon color that I wanted to go for anything that is demonic in this army is this pale, bruised flesh. I'm not going to show pictures of it, but if you want to Google it, you can. Basically, if you sustain an injury right before you die, right, your blood naturally begins to bruise and collect in areas, and then you die and your blood stops flowing, so you get very pale except for where the bruise was. And so I wanted that purple on pale, just like it would be on a dead body. So that's kind of what I was going for. The way I painted it was very simple. I mean, I primed them all with Wraithbone, and then what did I do? So that was a thinned out 2-to-1 ratio on Magos Purple and the medium for contrast paints, and just just washed them head to toe for the bugs, obviously. And then everything other, what makes the scheme work is that there's other colors in there to break it up, because they look very boring when you first do that. And so you can see here I have like the guts have different kinds of washes and color tones to make the intestines and that kind of nastiness look good. All of the little pustules and stuff, I think that's flayed one flesh with a Athonian camo shade washed over it, so it kind of seeps into the crevices. It makes them look really gross. I wanted yellow eyes because I just think it pops off of the purple. And beyond that, it's very simple. So I did make the declaration when I started this project that every single model was going to have some kind of conversion to it. And I decided when I was picking the project back up, I was like, every base is going to be unique. I'm going to be consistent in the basing schemes and crank those out. But honestly, like, I love these models, first of all, the way they look. But secondly, it made it to the point where I don't want to pick this army back up if I have to green stuff every single one of them. So like that kind of lofty goal became more of a hindrance to my creativity and actually getting the army painted than anything else. Because the second I lifted that, I cranked out a ton of stuff. And so here's just some close-ups to left and right. You can see the scarring. The way I achieved the dark skin for the guy on the left is Sigmar brown with like a 3-to-1 mix of like medium to Sigmar brown, so you really thin it out. It's instant dark skin in a pot. I mean, it's just, it's perfect. There's not even really many highlights. It is, I believe, Ungor flesh on the scars, because I wanted it to look vaguely like darker, but also it has to be lighter to make it look like it's fresh scar tissue. And then on the right, I painted that guy pretty much exactly like I do my Lord of Blights, the foot hero you guys have saw. So yeah, that's all there is to it. Lots of contrast, lots of rust effects, that kind of thing on all of the weapons, making the scythes all nice and rusty. And we move into my Lord of Afflictions. Now, here's the thing about him. First of all, he was painted the exact same way I batch painted all these because I wanted to get some stuff achieved, and I feel good about it. I really do like him. I got some more pictures here. But I don't particularly care for when GW puts out a kit, and then the same thing happened with the Dracoth, Lord Celestin on Dracoth, where there's a few kits that do this, but like you get 2 models, and it's a unit of 2. Awesome, sweet. But if you want the hero option, then all of a sudden you have this one random guy that you can't really use. I'm not a huge fan of that, just for obvious reasons. And so that was kind of a bummer. I'm actually going to use the bits for making a demon prince, like the wings and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm not really a big fan of that one. But the kit came together super well. I opted, so there's 2 options with his hand, right? He can be holding a dead body, or it can be pointing in a direction. I chose pointing in a direction because I thought it looked more commanding and in charge and impressive. And if you look at the bottom, you can see in the bottom left and maybe the bottom right if my head's not in the way. But I took that dead body and with the way that I was doing seaweed, which we talked about in the first video, I kind of buried him in there, so he's just like this corpse that's laying before him, so I thought that was really cool looking. Now, if you're curious about the wings, this was the angle I took to show off, and this is the same across all of them. The way I did the wings was very, very simple, and it looks stunning in person. It's kind of hard to capture on like recording it. But what it is Militarum green contrast, so you get that nice, deep green, which you can see in the top right there, has that nice green tone. And then I went over it with 2 layers of Turbo Dork color shift paints. It's specifically the 3D kind, I think, 3D glasses, where it makes it look like that oil slick kind of thing, where iridescent is the word, where like it has a shimmer and it changes color and shifts and that kind of stuff, and it makes them look like real bug wings. Really cool stuff, very simple to do. Yeah, that's all there is to it. So these guys were in very, very quick, easy paint scheme, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to feel like I was getting progress in more than anything. So yeah, you can see a little nurgling on his back. He's got one to the front that we saw earlier, and one up on the banner. So I like him quite a bit. Moving on to 20 Plague Bearers. Now I did build them with like the full command for every 10. And the reason for that is simple, is like, I don't think they're always going to feature in every single list that I have, like starting on the board. And I might just be summoning some in. So I wanted to make sure that I had as many options as possible so that, you know, and you can have multiple banners and instruments and that kind of stuff. And as you can see, it is the exact same super gross pale skin scheme that I have before. The horns are picked out with Ushab Debone and then washed with Seraphim Sepia, but everything else is identical. They have a lot more Nurgle's Rot going on because their guts are hanging out for most of them. And I like them quite a bit. You know, here's the thing, is like, demons were never really my focus when I started this army, but I know that summoning is an important part of any of the Chaos factions, to be perfectly honest with you. And so for them, and you know, and thematically, I like it. And so I wanted to do something quick and simple, no conversions on these. It was never a part of the plan for them. So I had these guys primed first thing in the morning, and I finished painting them by 9 o'clock at night. Them and the Herald that we'll talk about here in a second. But there's another close-up shot. I know it's super gross. And it really is the same thing. There's the contrast mix, and then you go through and you just pop out all the little pustules and that kind of stuff with Flayed One Flesh and the guts. And then it's a matter of washes and Nurgle's Rot and shades and that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, boom, you got yourself a whole heckin' ton of Plague Bears. Same goes for here with the Poxbringer. I like him. Honestly, it was kind of weird. So my whole deal was I need a race to get to 2,000 points, right? Because once I can start playing an army, it's very motivational for me. And so I was like, okay, we got to get 2,000 points. And then I was going to do 30 Plague Bears, but when you bump them to 30, they get the unit bonus, like for being a huge unit. And it brought them down in points. And I was like, no, if I bring the Poxbringer, it's dead on 2,000. And so that's what I opted for. So 20 Plague Bears and the Poxbringer. And so we'll go over the list here in a second that I can field now, but there's nothing special to him. I need to clean up that base a little bit. You can see you kind of got some of the tan from the base rim onto the wood plank, but that's all right. I mean, it's not a big deal. Yeah, and that's basically all there is for him. So as far as where I'm at with what I can build, right, a list that I can actually bring somewhere. Got the Lord of Afflictions, the Glotkin. He was very well painted. He doesn't quite match everything, but I'm never going to change him because he was my first big model. He's, you know, sentimental. The only thing I want to change for him is that he doesn't have a matching base. It was very hard to find a base for him, actually, because GW was just always sold out. So I'm going to find one, custom, make a cool base, and then from there we'll figure it out. Lord of Blights, guy on foot that I did before. Had the Poxbringer, 4 Puscoil Blightlords, 15 Blight Kings done, and 20 Plague Bears. So that is a lot of beef. 146 wounds to chew through, and some of those can be pretty speedy with the mounts that they are riding. So as far as what's next, right, because that's hobby progress goals, I need to do a few more bases. Now, I said before when I was talking about the stuff that I achieved, I did a ton of bases. I didn't realize that I had actually worked far enough ahead so that I have enough for the remaining Blight Kings that I have and the 10 more Plague Bearers that I own. So yeah, I worked ahead. So I don't have a ton more bases to do, but they are for some of these units. So I also have 10 Blight Kings left, so that'll bring my total to 25. So I could start running a reasonable Blight Cyst. 4 more Puscoils, so my Affliction Cyst can be at its peak Warhammer-ness. And I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited to be able to feel that, because I've never seen those models used, and I just want to. I know, even if I lose, I don't care. I have 10 more Plague Bears, and 3 Plague Drones, because I got the Star Collecting box, which means I also have 3 more Nurglings. And really, those, they're mostly there for summoning. I know the Plague Drones tend to be more popular than the Puscoils, but I mean, honestly, I might just make a cavalry list where it's all the flying dudes, which would be rad. Yeah, I don't really know when I'll use the Nurglings per se, but I've heard some good things that people like. And last up here is stuff that I need to buy. So all the things that you just saw listed were things that I already own, and I want to finish them before I move on. Yeah, honestly, the demons, like I said, with the 20 plague bearers, I cranked them out in a day. It's going to be the same thing for the others. The things that take more time are the mortal elements. There's more colors, more, tone variation, that kind of stuff. But I'm thinking ahead to what I want to one day own, and there's actually not a lot. I mean, I have all the mortal options. I have, and then I'll be able to build all the different battalions. I just need a, what's it called? Lord of Plagues. But I don't really care for that battalion, so I have all the stuff that I kind of want, like definitely want. But some things that would be useful for me is more Gnarl Maws, because there's just a lot of utility in being able to put points of run and charge across the board. So that's an important one. And I knew that was coming, I just didn't think about it. So more Gnarl Maws. With the extra bits that I have from the the Puscoil Blightlord I didn't build, because you have to have the Lord of Afflictions, takes up one of those two. Like with the extra fly bits and junk, I was going to make a Demon Prince. And so I just don't know what I want to do with that. If I want to use the existing Demon Prince as a base and augment that model, or do something completely different. I'm not sure. I actually like the Demon Prince model, to be honest with you, so kind of converting him up might not be a bad idea. Especially now that he has some new rules from Slaves to Darkness. I'm kind of hot on those, so I will start one day including more Slaves to Darkness stuff, because I do think that they offer a lot. Maybe the Knights and that kind of stuff, where it's speedier troops, that kind of thing, would be really useful. And the last thing I have here is a display board, because when I started this project, I initially wanted to do a army that's going to enter in painting competitions, like locally, nothing big. I'm not taking it anywhere important anyway. So yeah, I just wanted to do basic painting competitions, and I also need to figure out a way to transport them, because they were easy to transport when it was a bunch of Blight Kings, but now that I got the itch for Puscoil Blightlords, the suckers are tall and they're a pain in the butt to pack. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do there, but I need to figure that out. Those are kind of like the only things on my horizon. I have a lot of work to do with the stuff that I already own, as you saw before. And yeah, so once that's all done, I'll be able to field a Blight Cyst, an Affliction Cyst, and then have a bunch of stuff to summon, which is really a good place to be. Once I get the rest of the mortal stuff built and painted, the first thing I'm going to do is drop the Maggotkin from a list, because he's not very effective. Honestly, I mainly keep him because he is one of my favorite models, like aesthetically. In the game, I don't think he's all that great. I want to make him work eventually, but it's just not high on my priority list. I would rather do a Blight Sister Afflictions list, that kind of thing. So dropping him is kind of priority number one, but it's exciting that I am now actually at 2,000 points where I can start playing the Maggotkin, and I think that's the plan for this coming weekend. We'll have to see about that. But anyway, I'm very excited about pretty much all the things that are going on. I'm glad to be back at doing the Deluge series, and so if you have suggestions on Demon Prince conversions or that kind of thing, leave them in the comments down below. And if you have any questions about the paint schemes that you saw, go ahead and let me know, and I will happily reply to you with a little bit more detail and that kind of stuff. But it's all very simple, very efficient painting, and basically the mortals take a bunch of time because there's all different kinds of, different colors and that kind of stuff, whereas the demons I can crank out just madman style. So I'm excited about where the army is going. I'm excited to start playing it, to be honest with you, and hopefully you'll see it on Revealing Ones here pretty soon. But yeah, thank you all so much for joining me. Let me know if you have any questions down below, and I'll catch you next time. Happy wargaming.